Hi, everybody, and welcome to Bnow Coffee with Jeannie and Cindy.
Hey, we love our coffee chats, don't we?
We do, and I got a shirt I want to show you. Ready?
Bye-bye! Girl power! Woohoo! I love it.
I'm bringing this to the retreat.
Love it.
That's girl power.
Yay. That's awesome.
So anyway, today we're going to talk about how everything is alive. Jeannie had a title about this long. Down to this. Okay. I'm going to let you get started on this, Jeannie, because I know you know what we're going to talk about, and I'll chime in whenever.
Well, you have a vast knowledge base here too. And, you know, have you ever talked to your plants?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Have you ever talked to your pets?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Have you ever sent love to your food and appreciation?
I have.
Yeah. So everything is comprised of energy. Would we agree on that?
Absolutely.
Everything's comprised of energy. Mm-hmm. And because of that, Cindy, everything is literally alive. You know, the chair that I'm sitting on seems like a big, heavy leather chair, but in reality, it's just whirling masses of atoms and molecules and all of that. And we all agree that things are solid. So because we agree on that, they show up as solid.
Right, because literally you could put your finger right through here.
Yes, you could.
Yeah, mm-hmm. if you had that understanding of what you just said, because everything is just nucleus, electrons, protons, all that.
Yeah, yeah. And the space between these in an atom is just, I mean, you can't even imagine how much. It would be like, I heard someone say that King Albert Hall in London, you know, it would like be having, you know, a golf ball in the middle of this huge King Albert performing hall. And that would be the nucleus of one atom. So it's incomprehensible.
Absolutely. And even thinking that each little nucleus is its own solar system.
It is.
It has its own solar system.
So there was a guy named Cleve Baxter, Backster. And he was a former, I think a CIA officer, an FBI, anyhow, one of those 3-letter agencies way back in the day. I think it was FBI, and he was a polygrapher. He would administer polygraphs to people. And so he had this whole, you know, charts and graphs and stuff like that. And the way a polygraph works is that it detects little electrical impulses and sweat and all kinds of changes in your skin and in your respiration. So that's how that works. And he had this idea. He had these beautiful philodendron plants in his house, and he thought, you know, they're alive. I really do think they're alive. And so he hooked them up to this polygraph thing, and he would just like do different things, like when he was watering them, and they would register or whatever. So he had left it, and one day he was on the other side of the city, and he thought about feeding and watering his plants. And he noted the time, whatever it was, and he came back and he looked on his big readout, and the moment, and he was miles away, the moment he thought about watering and feeding his plants, they perked up. So how did that happen? So we've talked a lot about appreciation. We talked about like the Stanley Marcus story about appreciating your customers and a, you know, an insistence on quality. We talked about time travel, dimensions, portals, how things just appear to us that we know. So if this is in fact true, and we've talked before about Message from Water, Dr. Masaru Emoto, and you know, putting intentions into water changes the molecular structure of it. So when we are living life every day, you know, we can bless, like people who bitch about their computers all the time. Guess what? The computer takes that in, Cindy, and goes, oh, okay, well, she doesn't love me.
Exactly.
My,
Exactly.
my dad was a real hothead, but he was a real, he could do anything with his hands, and he was a good mechanic and stuff like that. And we always had these, older cars, and he was always, messing with them and stuff like that. But, it was like my mother would say, and I don't even think she realized what she was saying, but she was like, when we were out on our family trips, sometimes if she was driving, the car would break down or whatever. And she would say, this car would not dare break down on your dad. Well, we just thought that was funny, but it was actually the truth.
She was feeding the energy.
And he loved those cars. And I have no idea what his conversation was, if there was one, but what I would invite people to think about is, if you're saying, and you've heard people say this, oh, I can just think about a piece of cake and I gain 10 pounds. Okay. All your little baby new cells in your body say, hey, listen, she wants to think about cake and we need to get bigger. Okay. So, this is the premise of, is everything alive? What do you think? What do you think? Do you think music is alive?
Absolutely. Well, everything has energy.
Yeah.
If it has energy, it has a vibration. And if it has a vibration, it has a consciousness. And if it has a consciousness, it's alive.
Yeah.
So it all goes together. Exactly.
Well, in the Bible, it talks about, if you do not praise God, even the very rocks would cry out. It says that. It also says that the stars sing. It says that in the Bible, the stars sing. Well, guess what? A number of decades ago, especially like when the Hubble Space Telescope came out and all of that, Cindy, there was some deep space exploration, especially, some listening in. And the scientists made this statement that each star has its own individual song.
Sure. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Universe means one song.
Right.
On that note, my dad, there's this one light when he likes to go to this place for breakfast. He says, I never make this light. I never make this light. Sure enough, it would turn red. And he'd say, I never make this light. And I changed it to, the light will be green if I'm in the car, Dad. Guess what happened?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we do have these powers, or we laugh and we think maybe it was a coincidence, but no, it's not. When you focus, and it's not, what I've learned is you can't have kind of a flippant thought and think it's going to happen. Sometimes it does, though. But if you say the light is green and you see it being green before you get to it, you have a much better chance of it being green. Mm-hmm. And I love that. Wayne Dyer used to do that. In fact, he wrote me a note. Wayne Dyer did. Mm-hmm. When I first did all my music, I sent him my music. I was real excited. And he was so responsible for me doing that piano music that I really, really wanted to do, because of one thing he said. So there's something that you do that a lot of people do, but nobody does it the way you do it. And everybody listen to that. I'm going to say it again. There's something you do that everybody does, or a lot of people do, but they don't do it the way you do it. Let's take that down to my grandmother's apple pie. The way somebody makes a spaghetti sauce. Look at the way that you've decorated your home, right? So it's usually in our creativity where that becomes true. And he was the reason that I did those CDs. So I sent him some, and he told me, it was his favorite saying. He said, your music is divine. I give you all green lights.
I love it.
That's what he said, which to me meant, and we've all had this happen. How many times have you ever been maybe running a little bit late for something, but you get all green lights and you make it on time?
Yeah, I call that compressing time. I've had that happen so often.
And right. And you're also the weather woman.
I am. I'm the weather witch.
When you don't like the weather, or when you want it to change, you go. So I guess that, have you been asked?
all do that, just so you know.
Exactly.
But we don't all think we can. Yeah.
You must be thinking about rain, because I heard it's going to rain out there again this week.
Yeah, it is. It is. Absolutely.
Right.
But, I just love the fact that everything is alive.
Yes.
I love the fact that we are in constant communication with everything, whether it is something that we are ingesting into our body, which is going to be food or drink or, whatever, or the sunlight on our cells. Even the rocks are alive. One of the things that we do, and in fact, we're going to do this at Bnow next month, which is September 2022, is we're going to do a white stone ceremony. And when prisoners were let out way back in the day, thousands of years ago, when they were let out of their prison, they were given a white stone, and on it, their new name was written. That was proof that they were free.
Oh, no kidding.
And so there's something about it. And I've got to tell you something. This is funny. We had a Texas gubernatorial candidate that came through our town yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
He shall not be named.
I know who it is, I'll bet you.
Oh, you do. Anyhow, someone tried to give me a t-shirt. First of all, t-shirts. So, that's a non-starter for me. But the point being, it had his name on it and said, "Don't so-and-so our Texas," and said, "Why don't you wear this?" And I said, "Well, you're going to think I'm silly, but I know that words have vibrations. And it's just like tattoos or anything." And we'll talk about this because you and I are going to be having another conversation about branding shortly. But I said, I don't want his name across my heart center. So everything's alive, Cindy.
Boy, that was powerful. How did the person react?
Well, they agreed with me. Anyhow, well, I just love our conversations. Skedaddle here. We got we always have such a great time. Thank you for creating this space for us, Cindy.
Well, thank you for being you, because you're a wealth. I don't know how you remember names and facts and all of this stuff, but I love talking to you. That's why we started this, is because we have such great conversation.
We do. See you the next time. Bye-bye, y'all. Thank you.
Love you. Okay. All right.